Uh-oh. Not a giant, but we'll take it. Right down inside there. I mean, I pulled as hard as I could, guys. See that barb? That's why I use this thing. It's so hard to pop that barb on this freaking hook. Nice little fish. Hey, what's going on, guys? Greg DiPalma here with the Bass University, and today we are going to do one of my favorite things, but it's actually a very simple thing to do. And this is going to be your non-typical drop shotting way of drop shotting, I guess you would say. Again, there's two ways you can do it. If you're more of a bait casting kind of guy, then you can power shot with a bait caster. I still prefer, and you know, maybe it's not the best thing, but it's the best thing for me. I still prefer to use a spinning rod. The only thing that I do when using the spinning rod, so typically I still go for the 7 foot just for casting reasons. You know, not a really long rod, but I go for a medium heavy rod. Plenty of backbone for what I'm going to do here. Braid wise, I usually throw a braid to fluoro setup on my spinning reels. I'm going to do a 15 to 20 pound braid most of the time to typically a 12 or 10 pound fluorocarbon leader. With the braid, I will tell you that I have noticed, so once you jump up into the 12 or even a 15 pound fluorocarbon, you have to understand your knot size is going to get a lot bigger. So that being said, you know, going through your guys with a really smooth cast sometimes can be an issue. So you can offset it a little bit. So one thing that I have ran into over the years, if you go to the higher fluorocarbons and let's say your braided line is a lot less as far as diameter. So like, for example, let's say I'm throwing a 12 pound test and let's say I have 8 pound braid on here, it's gonna cause an issue down the road. I've had problems where the knot would slip when I went too light on the braid versus the heavy fluorocarbon. So that being said, try to match what you're doing with the equal size of both lines. I've come to find out that makes it a lot better. Your knot sticks a lot better. Okay, so as far as the fluoro goes, I usually do about a 14 foot leader or 12 foot, whatever it is. So usually I'll wind the knot into the spool a little bit, and I usually cut my line right at the bottom of the rod. So it makes it about 14 feet. You can probably get away with way less. It's just something I do for retie reasons, just to give me a little more efficiency on the water. So I'm gonna tie the drop shot up. Now, when I'm largemouth fishing like we're going to do today, we're fishing docks, fishing some trees and stuff like that, component wise, I don't worry about using the best stuff as far as the weights go, because a lot of times the weight's going to get stuck. I'm probably going to break it off or pull it off or break it. So I'm just going to throw a traditional lead style cylinder. I always throw the cylinder because I think it cuts the water a lot better. If I see them on live scope, I can cast in with this. I think it gets down there a lot faster, more direct. That's why I always pick this weight. Plus, I think being slender like that, a lot of times if it's a really calm day, no wind at all, the fish are real shallow, I always go as light as I possibly can with the drop shot weight because I don't want the presence to be there. I want to sneak it in there, get it down to them, and bring it right to the fish and catch them. So being quiet is a big, big deal. Now, I know the weight side is really cheap, like I said, just traditional lead. The hook, on the other hand, this is where you want quality. So because I got a little beefier setup, I'm gonna go for a heavier shank worm hook. This is a Hayabusa, I think it's a 114 it's called, Hayabusa 114 HD, heavy duty. I'm just gonna show you this hook on here a little bit closer. So you can see the barb on this is actually a lot bigger than a lot of hooks that are out there. That is why I choose this one. This is the same hook that I throw on my bait casting setup for a Carolina rig. It's just a very, very stout hook, but the barb keeps them fish locked better than anyone I've ever used. So, I'm just gonna rig it up. Now, traditionally with a drop shot, you know, you nose hook stuff. We're gonna text this rig because we're fishing around cover. We wanna make sure we can get our worm through and not get stuck, even though sometimes you do get stuck, but a lot of times it's just a weight and we're just gonna break it off, that's the case. So I'm gonna run it through. I typically, when I'm doing this kind of fishing, I'm gonna do a shorter leader, not a long leader, because a lot of times when I'm throwing this around cover, them fish are gonna be closer to the bottom for the most part. So if you're new to tying drop shot, I just tied a Palomar knot. All I did, I'm gonna take my tag in, I'm gonna run it right back through the front side of the hook and pull it down. That's actually gonna make the hook stand up like that. So if you're like that, standing up. From there, I'm gonna take my weight. This one right here that I have on here is a quarter. I'll go down to sometimes an eighth, but I usually start with a quarter just because I think a quarter is a really good weight for fishing that 4 to 6 foot range of water, and it's really quiet. Take it in there, just gonna pop it in. It automatically locks itself, but I still go back and just tie a small little tiny overhand knot twice.